Hello all, I'm Sai and you're watching The Book Dragon. In today's video, I'm bringing to you my September reading wrap-up, and I should say September was not a great month for me. I managed reading a total of 17 books, but even when I say 17 books, I'm not excited because I cannot say that I enjoyed the experience of reading all these books because there were quite a few letdowns while I was reading in September, and as a whole, September itself was a slumpy month for me. I'm not just saying in terms of reading, but as a whole. So just in order to not make this video so much negative, I'm going to try to keep it as much short as possible. So without any further ado, let's get into the books right away. Starting with the physical books, the first one which I finished reading is The Everyday Hero Manifesto by Robin Sharma. This was definitely one of my most anticipated releases for last year, and because of various reasons I did not read it last year itself. I managed reading it now only, and I should say that even after reading this book I was not feeling motivated enough to do anything else for the rest of the month, and that is probably my fault. Okay, I'm not saying that this is a bad book in any way because it is really a good book. You can see that I've annotated it here and there, right? There are multiple instances while I was reading this book while I felt so much inspired and motivated to do so much stuff. It is definitely not the best Robin Sharma book that I've read so far, but it was very motivational in every way possible. I should say that only because of this book I was even able to do all the other stuff that I was doing in September. It is actually kind of an autobiographical self-help book that is written by Robin Sharma, and if you want a dose of inspiration and motivation to do anything at all, just go forward and try it. I'm sure you'll not be disappointed at all. You'll also get that nice positive boost that you need to do a lot of stuff. I got that out of this one, so I rated it 4 stars. The next one is an adult contemporary romance book, and it is November 9 by Colleen Hoover, and this was surprisingly very good for me. Okay, I enjoyed reading the book the whole time, but I cannot say that enjoyed is the right word because this is not a kind of story that you enjoy but you like after finishing reading it. It has a very sad and melancholy tone to it, but the way in which the author narrates it and makes us feel some of the things that the characters are feeling here is really nice. It is definitely a love story that is far darker in its tone than anything that I've read before, and that is one thing which I appreciated about this book so much. Here we follow our two main characters, Fallon and Ben, who are in Los Angeles, and they meet on this particular day, which is November 9, and after meeting them they decide to meet each and every year for the next 5 years until they turn 23 on November 9 alone, but they just hit it off with this connection and it works out really well for them. It is definitely a dark and twisted tale, but the way in which the author presents it is powerful and also very gripping. I rated this one 4.25 stars. The next one is a book by one of my favorite authors, and it is Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and this was a huge disappointment for me because I did not like this book at all in any way. Okay, except for 2 or 3 side characters, I did not like this book at all. Especially the main character, Daisy Jones, here is one character whom I hated a lot while I was reading about her. She's definitely a super talented person, but the way in which she does a lot of stuff in her life just repels me out of the story, and I felt like I don't want to read about this person. Just tell me the stories about the people who are actually surrounding her and doing what they need to do for their life. She just felt like a person who was totally arrogant just because she was talented, and there was nothing else to her life except that talent and arrogance alone. There are some hints of feminism and gender equality that are shown by the author. Those instances were really good, but the main character here was definitely not a nice person at all. Instead of saying a nice person, I can say she was not even a nice character. I definitely hated her the whole time. But the one thing which I loved about this book is the way in which the author narrates the story. TJ knows how to write her books, and her writing is the thing which just kept me gripped to read the book until its end. Other than that, I should say that this was definitely a huge disappointment for me, and I rated it 3.25 stars. The last physical book is yet another adult contemporary romance, and it is The Spanish Love Deception by Elena Armas, and I enjoyed this book from top to bottom completely. Okay, it is definitely a cliched romance, but the way in which our main character Catalina behaves here is really nice. Okay, she is a very comical and lovable character, and she is also super hardworking. There are also some instances during which the character shows us how workplace sexism exists and how people don't care about it for most of the time, and why it is necessary for each and every one of us to support the people who are working along with us, even though some of the things that happen to them might not hurt us or harm us in any way. Here we follow a main character, Catalina, who has to get a date for her sister's wedding. During this time only, our male lead, who's Aaron, comes and just accepts to be Catalina's date for an exchange favor. They both end up going to Spain, and many mishaps happen there, and it is super funny and also really emotional at times. This was definitely a jam-packed ride for me, and I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. I rated this one 4.75 stars. Moving on to the audiobooks, the first audiobook which I listened to is Fresh Floods by Kalki, translated to English by Pavithra Srinivasan, which is the first book inside the Ponniyin Selvan series. Okay, you know that I finished reading the Ponniyin Selvan series only in August, but the reason why I listened to this as an audiobook in September is because after I released my Ponniyin Selvan videos, many people kept on asking me whether there are English translations available for Ponniyin Selvan, and when I said that there are multiple translations available, people asked me whether there is any particular translation which I'd recommend. So I just went forward and listened to the audiobook, which was available for free in Spotify. So if you're interested in starting the series, just go forward and try it for free in the Spotify app. The narrator is Amit Bhargav and he has a really nice voice, and the way in which he narrates is also really nice. It is Ponniyin Selvan, so I obviously rated it 5 stars and enjoyed it the whole time. Even though it is translated into English, the author has made it sure that she does not lose the beauty of the language in the translation. So if you want a good translation for Ponniyin Selvan, just go forward and try Pavithra Srinivasan's translation. So as I said before, I rated this one 5 stars. The next audiobook is Sadie by Courtney, which is an adult murder mystery book, and it is kind of a new adult book because the main character whom we deal with here is just 19 years old. Our main character Sadie is actually going in search of this murderer who killed her younger sister, and she has an idea of who this murderer is, and she trying to go and catch hold of them and avenge the death of her sister is the actual premise of this book. The audiobook is actually produced in kind of a crime podcast, so I suggest you to just go forward with the audiobook and not the physical book because the experience of listening to this audiobook was really nice. And some scenes inside this book are really difficult to read because they have such strong content. There are trigger warnings for scenes with sexual assault a lot of times in this book, so just keep that in mind if you're going to go forward and try it. But as a whole, it was a really well written book. I rated this one 4 stars. The last audiobook which I finished is Asan for the Wild Built by Becky Chambers, which is the first book inside the Monk and Robot series, which is a sci-fi series of novellas. There are only 2 novellas out until now, and I'm going to listen to the second novella in this month. Here we follow a tea monk who's a monk that makes tea for people just not to provide them with some comfort, and this robot who meet and have multiple conversations as they journey together across the world. The main character whom we see here as the human being is also a non-binary person, and the way in which the author has written about them is really nice. So if you're feeling anxious or depressed in some way, just go forward and try this. I'm sure it will calm you down and just provide you with so much comfort. I rated this one 5 stars. Now moving on to the ebooks. The first ebook which I finished is a collection of 3 graphic novels of a series, and it is the Tea Dragon series by K. O'Neill. Here we follow this world in which there are tea dragons, which are short little puppy dog like creatures, and they are just dragons. The special thing about the tea dragons is that they have tea leaves growing out from some organs of their bodies, and that's the specific art which is to be mastered by people if they want to take care of tea dragons, because they are very delicate, soft and shy creatures. Not every tea dragon just goes forward and bonds with any human being or person that it comes in contact with. They are highly sensitive and they just go forward and mingle with very few people in specific only when they find a very soulful connection with them. The way in which these tea dragons are drawn by the author here is just awesome. It is suitable for people of any age range also. It is not specific for adults or young adults or children alone. Anyone can just go forward and read this. I'd say the perfect weather to read this kind of graphic novel series is now, because we have this chilly season starting right now, and if you read this, I'm sure that you'll feel all that vibes properly. The 3 books inside the series are The Tea Dragon Society, The Tea Dragon Festival and The Tea Dragon Tapestry. I rated each and every one of them 5 stars. Next we have this manga called Happiness by Shuzo Oshimi. There are totally 10 volumes of this manga and I've read only the first 3 volumes. It is available for free in Kindle Unlimited, and also the previous graphic novel series which I talked about in the video. Here we just follow this boy who's been bitten by this girl who's a vampire, and because of this he also changes, and there are so many dark things that happen after that. Since I've just been through 3 volumes of the 10 inside the series, there has not been that much which has happened, but as of now I should say that it is a pretty average series, and I think I'll be finishing it in this month. Let's just wait and see. I rated all the 3 volumes which I've read so far 3 stars. Next we have Princess Ever After by K. O'Neill again. This is the same author of the Tea Dragon series. That series was amazing, but this one was not good if you ask me. It is just a gender bent version of a fairy tale where a princess goes forward and saves another princess instead of a prince. Except that particular aspect of the story, there was nothing different or nice about this one if you ask me. It was just another story which I read, so I rated it 3 stars. The next one is another manga, and it is A Silent Voice by Yoshitoki Oima. There are totally 7 volumes of this manga and I've read the first 2 volumes alone. I actually borrowed it from a friend and read it because it was recommended by Murphy Napier many times in her channel. Here we follow 2 main characters, of whom one is a boy and another is a girl. The girl here is a person who cannot hear, so she makes use of a hearing aid, and when she is put into this new school where this boy is, including the boy and especially the boy, start bullying her very hard, and because of this there are so many things that happen to the girl in her mind. The bullying goes to such a high extent that she has to change schools and go for a different school after some time. I've read just the first 2 volumes and I should say it is really good in its tone, and the artwork is also really nice. It is definitely a very delicate subject, and the way in which the author is handling it is honest at the same time very beautiful. I rated the first 2 volumes 4 stars each. The last one in this list is another graphic novel, and it is Gender Queer by Maia and Phoebe Kobabe. The author here itself is a queer person, and first they thought themselves to be bisexual, and then they understood that they are not bisexual but just non-binary. I took a lot of time to finish reading this graphic novel because there was so much information going on, because it is the life of an actual person. It is kind of like an autobiography of the author, and the way in which it is done is extremely brilliant. I loved it so much and I rated it 5 stars. So yes guys, that's all the books that I read in September, and don't forget to leave your September wrap up in the comments below, and also if you've read any of the books that I talked about in this video, do let your thoughts on them in the comments below, because I'd like to know what you think about them. And if you did enjoy watching today's video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and also share it to your friends. And if you want to get more content from me, do subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching and have a great rest of your day.